Is this real? Sarah Johnson whispered, staring at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test. Her hand shook as she sat on the edge of her bathtub in her Chicago apartment. The morning sunlight streamed through the small bathroom window. Sarah was 28 years old, with brown, curly hair and warm eyes that now filled with tears of joy. She had been dating Michael Reynolds for 2 years. Michael was handsome, successful, and about to take over his father's company, Reynolds Enterprises. Sarah checked her watch. It was 7:30 in the morning. She needed to tell Michael right away. She picked up her phone and called his office. "Reynolds Enterprises, how may I direct your call?" A woman's voice answered. "Hi, this is Sarah Johnson. I'd like to speak with Michael, please." "I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson, Mr. Reynolds is in meetings all day. Would you like to leave a message?" Sarah frowned. "Could you check if he has time for lunch? It's important." "I'm afraid his schedule is completely full today. Would you like me to schedule something for next week?" "No, thank you," Sarah said and ended the call. She couldn't wait that long. This was too important. Sarah decided to visit Michael's office in person. 2 hours later, Sarah stood in the lobby of the Reynolds Enterprises building, a tall glass tower overlooking Lake Michigan. She smoothed her blue dress and approached the reception desk. "I'm here to see Michael Reynolds," she said with a smile. The receptionist looked at her computer screen. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I'm his girlfriend. It's important." The receptionist made a phone call and then nodded. "Please take the elevator to the 30th floor. His assistant will meet you." On the 30th floor, a woman with a tight bun and glasses greeted Sarah. "Ms. Johnson, Mr. Reynolds is very busy today." "Please, I only need 5 minutes," Sarah said. The assistant sighed. "Wait here." She disappeared through a large wooden door and returned moments later. "You can go in, but please keep it brief." Sarah entered Michael's corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed a stunning view of Lake Michigan. Michael sat behind a large desk, typing on his computer. He was 30 years old with dark hair and sharp features. "Sarah, this is a surprise," he said without smiling. "What's so urgent?" Sarah's heart raced. She had imagined this moment differently, maybe over dinner with candles and wine, not in his cold office. "Michael, I have amazing news," she said, unable to contain her smile. "I'm pregnant." Michael's fingers stopped typing. His face became still, like a statue. "You're what?" he asked. "Pregnant. We're going to have a baby," Sarah said, moving closer to his desk. "I know we hadn't planned this right now, but I'm so happy." Michael stood up and walked to the window, turning his back to her. "This isn't what I planned," he said, his voice flat and distant. Sarah's smile faded. "But we talked about having a family someday." "Someday isn't now," Michael said, turning to face her. "I'm about to take over my father's company. This is the worst possible timing." "But—" Michael raised his hand to stop her from speaking. He walked back to his desk and opened a drawer. He pulled out a checkbook and began writing. "What are you doing?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking. Michael finished writing and tore out the check. He slid it across the desk towards Sarah. $50,000, he said. "Take it and start over somewhere else. I don't want this responsibility." Sarah stared at the check, unable to believe what was happening. "I'm not asking for your money, Michael. These are your children, too." "Children? What do you mean, children?" Michael's face turned pale. "The doctor said I'm carrying twins," Sarah whispered. Michael's jaw tightened. "That's even worse. My decision is final. Take the money or don't, but we're done." He pressed a button on his desk. "Linda, please come in." The assistant entered the office. "Please escort Ms. Johnson out of the building," Michael said, already turning back to his computer. "Michael, you can't do this," Sarah cried, tears streaming down her face. "Security will help if needed," Michael told his assistant without looking at Sarah. 2 security guards arrived. Everyone in the lobby stared as they led Sarah out of the building, her cheeks wet with tears. That evening, Sarah sat alone in her apartment, still in shock. Her phone buzzed with a text message. This is James Miller, your landlord. Your lease has been terminated, effective immediately. You have 48 hours to vacate the property." Sarah gasped. How could this happen? Then she remembered. Michael owned the building. She called the landlord. "Mr. Miller, you can't do this. I have a lease." "I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Reynolds owns the building and he has the right to terminate any lease. There's nothing I can do." The next morning, Sarah's phone rang. It was her boss from the marketing firm where she worked. "Sarah, I hate to do this over the phone, but we have to let you go." "What? Why? My performance reviews have been excellent." "It's not about your performance. Reynolds Enterprises acquired our company yesterday and they're restructuring. Your position has been eliminated." Sarah sat on her couch, stunned. In just 2 days, she had lost her boyfriend, her home, and her job. She looked around her apartment. She had until tomorrow to move out, but where would she go? Sarah scrolled through her phone contacts. She had moved to Chicago for her job and for Michael. She didn't have many friends in the city. She stopped at Lily Chen's name. Lily was a co-worker who had always been kind to Sarah. With shaking hands, Sarah made the call. "Lily? It's Sarah. I hate to ask this, but I'm in trouble. I've lost my apartment and my job, and I have nowhere to go. Could I stay on your couch for a few days until I figure things out?" "Oh my goodness, Sarah. What happened?" Lily asked. Sarah's voice broke as she answered, "Everything fell apart at once." "Come over right now," Lily said. "My couch is yours for as long as you need it." Sarah packed her suitcase with as much as she could carry. As she looked around the apartment one last time, she placed her hand on her stomach. "We'll be okay," she whispered to her unborn twins. "Somehow, we'll be okay." Sarah woke up with a stiff neck on Lily's small couch. Sunlight streamed through the window of the tiny Chicago apartment. She could hear Lily in the kitchen making coffee. "Good morning," Lily said, bringing Sarah a cup. "Did you sleep okay?" Sarah sat up slowly, her back aching. "Not really, but thank you for letting me stay here." "You can stay as long as you need," Lily said, though they both knew the one-bedroom apartment was too small for 2 people long-term. Sarah opened her laptop on Lily's coffee table. "I need to find a job right away." For the next 3 hours, Sarah submitted her resume to 10 different marketing companies in Chicago. By lunchtime, she had already received 3 rejection emails. "That's strange," Sarah said, showing her phone to Lily. "I know people at Henderson Marketing. They were hiring last week." Lily looked at the email. "Their message says they don't have suitable positions at this time. That's the standard rejection." Sarah received 4 more rejections by evening. She sat on the couch, counting the money in her wallet and checking her bank account on her phone. "I have enough savings for maybe 2 months if I'm very careful," Sarah told Lily. "I need to see a doctor soon to check on the babies, too." The next morning, Sarah visited a women's health clinic. The nurse took her blood pressure and weight before leading her to an exam room. "The doctor will be right with you," the nurse said with a kind smile. Dr. Williams, a woman with gray hair and gentle eyes, entered a few minutes later. She performed an ultrasound and smiled at the screen. "You're about 8 weeks pregnant with twins," she confirmed. "Both heartbeats are strong." Sarah tried to smile, but tears filled her eyes instead. "Are you okay?" Dr. Williams asked. "I'm doing this alone," Sarah explained. "The father doesn't want to be involved." "You have options," Dr. Williams said gently. "There are support services." "I want these babies," Sarah interrupted. "I just need to figure things out." Back at Lily's apartment, Sarah picked up her phone. "I should try to reach Michael's parents. They should know about their grandchildren." She dialed the Reynolds family home number that Michael had once shared with her. "Reynolds residence," answered a woman with a formal voice. "Hello, this is Sarah Johnson. I'd like to speak with Mr. or Mistress Reynolds, please." "I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson, but the Reynolds family is not accepting calls from you." "Please, it's very important." The line went dead. Sarah stared at her phone in shock. They already know. Michael must have told them. Later that day, Sarah stopped at a coffee shop near Lily's apartment. As she waited in line, she overheard two women talking at a nearby table. "Did you hear about Michael Reynolds? His ex tried to trap him with a pregnancy. So desperate. I heard she made the whole thing up to get his money." Sarah quickly left the coffee shop without ordering. Outside, her phone buzzed with a text from Rachel, a friend from college who had moved to Chicago last year. "Sorry, Sarah, I can't meet up tomorrow. It's not a good time. My boyfriend works for a company that does business with Reynolds Enterprises." Sarah put her phone away, feeling more alone than ever. That afternoon, she went to the public library to use their computers. She needed a plan. "I can't stay in Chicago," she told Lily that evening. "Michael is too powerful here. He's turning everyone against me." Sarah showed Lily her research. "I'm looking at Denver, Seattle, and Austin. They all have lower living costs than Chicago and good job markets." "Denver is beautiful," Lily said, "and Colorado has good healthcare programs for pregnant women." The next day, Sarah made her decision. She found a consignment shop that bought 6 of her designer work outfits for $300, much less than they were worth, but she needed the money. "I'll leave next week," Sarah told Lily. "I found a bus ticket to Denver for $89. Sarah spent the next few days selling what she could and packing the rest into 2 suitcases. She made one last appointment with Dr. Williams for a checkup before leaving. "Everything looks good so far," Dr. Williams said, moving the ultrasound wand over Sarah's slightly rounded belly. Suddenly, she paused and looked more closely at the screen. "What's wrong?" Sarah asked, feeling panicked. "Nothing's wrong," Dr. Williams said, adjusting something on the machine. "But I'm seeing something unexpected." She pointed to the screen. "Here's one baby. Here's the second baby. And here, this is a third baby." "A third?" Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Yes, Ms. Johnson, you're not having twins. You're having triplets." Sarah couldn't speak. 3 babies. 3 tiny lives depending on her. She had no home, no job, and now 3 babies to care for. That evening, Sarah sat on Lily's couch with a bus ticket to Denver in her hand and the ultrasound picture of her 3 babies on her lap. "Triplets," Lily said, sitting beside her. "That's... wow." "How am I going to do this?" Sarah whispered. "1 baby would be hard enough. 2 seemed impossible. But 3? "You're the strongest person I know," Lily said, taking Sarah's hand. "If anyone can do this, it's you." Sarah looked at the ultrasound picture again. 3 tiny shapes, her children. "I don't have a choice," she said finally. "I have to find a way to make this work." The night before her departure, Sarah couldn't sleep. She sat by the window in Lily's living room, looking out at the Chicago skyline. This city had once held all her dreams. Now she was leaving with nothing but 2 suitcases and 3 tiny heartbeats inside her. Sarah placed her hand on her stomach. "I don't know how," she whispered to her unborn babies, "but I promise I'll give you a good life. We're going to Denver to start over, just the 4 of us." The next morning, Lily drove Sarah to the bus station. They hugged goodbye beside the Denver-bound bus. "Text me when you arrive," Lily said. "And remember, you can always come back if things don't work out." Sarah nodded, though they both knew she wouldn't return to Chicago. She boarded the bus with her 2 suitcases and found a window seat. As the bus pulled away, she watched Chicago's buildings grow smaller until they disappeared from view. 18 hours later, the bus arrived in Denver. Sarah stepped out into the cool mountain air, her legs stiff from the long ride. She had exactly $2,345 to her name, no place to live, no job, and 3 babies on the way. Sarah took a deep breath and walked into the bus station to find a map of the city. Her new life was beginning, ready or not. Sarah studied the map of Denver at the bus station. She circled 3 affordable neighborhoods with her pen and headed to the nearest one to look for a place to stay. After walking for 4 blocks with her heavy suitcases, Sarah spotted a small apartment building with a vacancy sign. The building was old with peeling blue paint. She took a deep breath and went inside to talk to the manager. "I have a 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor," said Mr. Peterson, an older man with thick glasses. $550 per month, first and last month's rent required up front. Sarah did quick math in her head. That would be $1,100 total? Mr. Peterson nodded, plus a $200 security deposit. Sarah bit her lip. "Could I pay the security deposit next month? I can give you the first and last month's rent today." Mr. Peterson looked at her for a long moment. "Fine, but no late payments." An hour later, Sarah stood in her new apartment. The walls needed paint, one window had a crack, and the carpet was worn thin, but it was hers. She sat on the floor, too tired to unpack. "It's not much," she said to her unborn babies, "but it's a start." The next morning, Sarah visited a government assistance office. She filled out forms for WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, benefits, and Medicaid. "You qualify for emergency assistance since you're pregnant," explained the caseworker, a woman named Brenda with short red hair. "This card will help with food, and Medicaid will cover your medical care." "Thank you," Sarah said, taking the paperwork. "I also need a job. 3 jobs, actually." Brenda raised her eyebrows. "3 jobs in your condition?" "I'm having triplets," Sarah explained. "I need to save as much money as possible before they arrive." That afternoon, Sarah went to a bakery near her apartment that had a "Help Wanted" sign. "I can work any morning shift," Sarah told the owner, Mrs. Garcia. "I have experience with customer service." "We start at 4:30 in the morning," Mrs. Garcia warned. "Can you handle that while pregnant?" "Yes," Sarah said firmly. "I need this job." Next, Sarah found work as a receptionist at a small dental office for afternoon shifts. In the evenings, she took a data entry position she could do from home on her laptop. 2 weeks later, Sarah's routine was established. She woke at 3:45 each morning to work at the bakery until noon. From 1 to 5, she answered phones at the dental office. At night, she did data entry until she was too tired to keep her eyes open. As her pregnancy progressed, Sarah's body struggled with the demanding schedule. At 16 weeks, her feet swelled so badly she had to cut slits in her only pair of work shoes. One morning at the bakery, Mrs. Garcia noticed Sarah wincing as she lifted a tray of muffins. "Sarah, you need to slow down," Mrs. Garcia said. "You're pushing yourself too hard." "I'm fine," Sarah insisted, though her back ached constantly. At 20 weeks, Sarah visited her new doctor in Denver, Dr. Martinez. "Your blood pressure is too high," Dr. Martinez said with concern, "and you're not gaining enough weight for a triplet pregnancy. You need bed rest." "I can't rest," Sarah explained. "I have 3 jobs." "3 jobs?" Dr. Martinez frowned. "Sarah, you're carrying 3 babies. Your body is working hard enough already." Sarah took the doctor's note recommending bed rest but crumpled it up after leaving the office. She couldn't afford to stop working. The next week, Sarah fainted at the reception desk at the dental office. She woke up to find her boss, Dr. Wilson, kneeling beside her. "Sarah, I'm sorry," Dr. Wilson said after the paramedics confirmed she was okay. "But this is a liability issue. We can't risk your health or our patient's safety." Sarah lost her receptionist job that day. The following week, Mrs. Garcia reduced her hours at the bakery. "I can only give you 3 days a week now," Mrs. Garcia explained gently. "You can't stand for 8 hours anymore. It's not safe." With her income drastically reduced, Sarah couldn't pay her full rent. At 26 weeks pregnant, with her belly now very large, she received an eviction warning on her door. Sarah sat on her bed, counting coins from her tip jar to buy prenatal vitamins. After paying for the vitamins, she would have $42 left. Her rent was due in 5 days. The next day, Sarah visited a homeless shelter to learn about her options. "We have a waiting list for family rooms," explained the intake worker. Single women stay in the main area. Sarah looked at the large room filled with cots. Women of all ages sat on beds or stood in line for the bathroom. Many looked at her pregnant belly with sympathy. "Could I stay here until I find another place?" Sarah asked quietly. "Let me connect you with our social worker first," the intake worker said. "She might have other resources for you." Maria Rodriguez had kind brown eyes and a warm smile. She invited Sarah into her small office. "Tell me your situation," Maria said. Sarah tried to speak calmly, but when she showed Maria the ultrasound picture of her 3 babies, her voice broke. "I thought I could do this," Sarah whispered. "I thought I was strong enough, but I can't even keep a roof over their heads and they're not even born yet." "You are strong," Maria said firmly, "but everyone needs help sometimes. I can help you apply for emergency housing assistance and connect you with our prenatal program." Sarah finally broke down, sobbing in Maria's office. "I'm so scared. What if I fail them?" "You won't fail them," Maria assured her. "You've already shown how much you love them by fighting so hard." That night, back in her apartment with a new plan and emergency rent assistance application submitted, Sarah sat on her bed. Her hands rested on her large belly, feeling the triplets move inside her. "I hit rock bottom today," she told her babies, "but that's okay. When you hit bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. I promise you, this is the worst it will get. From now on, we're going to rise. We will have a good life together. I will build something for us, something strong and secure. No one will ever make us feel small or unwanted again." As if in response, one of the babies kicked against her hand, then another, then the third. Sarah smiled through her tears. "That's right," she whispered. "The 4 of us against the world, and we're going to win." The emergency housing assistance came through just in time. With Maria's help, Sarah was approved for subsidized housing for single mothers. 2 weeks before her due date, Sarah moved into a small but clean 2-bedroom apartment in a building specifically for families in need. "This is much better than my old place," Sarah told Maria as they carried in her few belongings. "And the rent is based on my income." "The building has a good community too," Maria said. "Many single mothers who support each other." On a warm June morning, Sarah woke up with sharp pains. She called Maria, who drove her to the hospital. After 20 hours of difficult labor, Sarah gave birth to 2 boys and a girl. "They're small but healthy," the doctor told her. 5 pounds each, which is good for triplets. Sarah held her babies for the first time, tears streaming down her face. "Adam," she said, touching the first boy's cheek. "Oliver," she whispered to the second boy. "And Emma," she said to her daughter. "We made it." The first weeks at home were a blur of feedings, diaper changes, and very little sleep. Sarah set up the 2nd bedroom with 3 cribs donated by a church group. Her living room became a maze of baby swings, bouncy seats, and play mats. Sarah's neighbor, Beth, a single mother with a 4-year-old son, knocked on her door one evening. "I brought you some dinner," Beth said, handing Sarah a casserole. "And I can hold a baby while you eat." Sarah gratefully handed Oliver to Beth. "Thank you, I haven't eaten a hot meal in days." "I remember those early weeks," Beth said, rocking Oliver. "And I only had 1 baby. I can't imagine 3. "I'm still figuring it out," Sarah admitted. "Right now, I'm trying to create a schedule so I can get some sleep." Sarah created a color-coded chart on a whiteboard, blue for Adam, green for Oliver, and pink for Emma. She tracked feedings, diaper changes, and sleep times with different colored markers. "This is the only way I can keep track of who needs what," Sarah explained to Maria during her home visit. "If I don't write it down, I get confused from exhaustion." When the triplets were 2 months old, Sarah set up a small desk in the corner of her living room with her laptop. While the babies napped, she searched for work-from-home opportunities. "I need to start earning money again," she told Beth. "My savings are almost gone, and government assistance won't cover everything we need." Sarah found her first freelance job creating social media posts for a small business. She worked while the triplets slept, often staying up until 2 in the morning to finish projects. By the time the babies were 6 months old, Sarah had 3 regular freelance clients. She set up a play area next to her desk where the triplets could be near her while she worked. "You're amazing," Beth said one day, watching Sarah type an email with one hand while feeding Oliver with the other. "I don't know how you do it." "I don't have a choice," Sarah replied. "But honestly, it's getting easier as they get older." As the triplets grew, their personalities emerged. Adam was serious and watchful, observing everything with his dark eyes. Emma was bold and determined, always the first to try new things. Oliver was gentle and creative, fascinated by colors and sounds. On their first birthday, Sarah held a small party with Beth's family and a few other neighbors. "I can't believe they're 1 year old," Sarah said, watching the triplets smash their cake with tiny hands. "And I can't believe you've built a freelance business while raising them," Beth replied. "Most days I can barely handle work and 1 child." By the time the triplets were 2, Sarah had established herself as a reliable virtual assistant and social media manager for several small businesses. She worked during nap times, early mornings, and late nights. One morning, Sarah received an email from a new client offering $500 for a social media campaign. "We got it," she told the triplets, dancing around the living room with Emma in her arms. Adam and Oliver clapped their hands, not understanding but happy to see their mother excited. That night, after putting the triplets to bed, Sarah allowed herself a rare moment of pride. On her desk sat 3 piles of papers: client work, bills that were paid, and a small but growing savings account statement. "We're going to be okay," she whispered. As the triplets turned 3, they became more independent, playing together while Sarah worked. They developed a special language between themselves that only they understood, though their regular speech was also developing well. "Mama working," Adam would say seriously when Sarah was at her computer. "Help Mama?" Emma would ask, always wanting to be involved. "Draw picture," Oliver would say, already showing artistic talent with his colorful scribbles. Sarah's client list grew to 12 regular businesses, and she hired a teenage neighbor to watch the triplets for 3 hours each afternoon so she could take client calls without interruption. One evening, Sarah was folding laundry while the triplets played nearby. She held up a shirt of Adam's that was too small, then one of Emma's with a stain that wouldn't come out, and finally a pair of Oliver's pants with a hole in the knee. "They grow so fast," she sighed, adding the clothes to a donation pile. "I need to buy new clothes again, but it's so expensive." Sarah looked at her calendar and budget. Between rent, food, utilities, and childcare, there wasn't much left for new clothes. Yet the triplets needed them constantly as they grew. "There has to be a better way," she said to herself, "something that would make this easier for parents." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. An idea kept growing in her mind. What if there was a service that delivered children's clothes automatically as kids grew? Parents could subscribe and receive exactly what their children needed right when they needed it. Sarah got out of bed and opened her laptop. She began typing notes, creating a business plan. By morning, she had outlined a subscription service for children's clothing. She would call it Grow With Me. "This could work," she whispered, looking at her sleeping triplets. "This could really work." For the next week, Sarah worked on her business idea whenever the triplets slept. She researched children's clothing suppliers, subscription services, and website builders. By day, she cared for her children and completed her freelance work. By night, she built her business plan for Grow With Me. "Look at this," Sarah said to Beth one morning, showing her laptop screen. "I made a simple website. What do you think?" Beth looked at the colorful website with pictures of smiling children in cute outfits. "Grow With Me. Never shop for kids' clothes again. Monthly boxes of perfectly sized clothes delivered to your door." "This is a great idea," Beth said. "I would definitely use this service. How will you get started?" I have $500 saved, Sarah explained. I'm going to buy some inventory and start small, maybe get 10 or 15 subscribers at first. That afternoon, while the triplets napped, Sarah visited a children's clothing warehouse that sold overstock items at discount prices. She carefully selected quality pieces in various sizes and styles. I'll take all of these, Sarah told the warehouse manager, pointing to her selections. Can you give me a better price if I buy everything together? The manager looked at Sarah's large pile of clothing. I can do 15% off the total. Sarah returned home with bags of children's clothes. She set up a system in her kitchen to organize the items by size, gender, and season. She created simple cards with the Grow With Me logo to include in each package. What are those? Emma asked, pointing at the piles of clothes. These are for Mommy's new business, Sarah explained. I'm going to send clothes to other children who need them, just like you three need new clothes when you grow bigger. I help? Emma asked. Yes, you can help put stickers on the boxes, Sarah said, smiling at her daughter's eagerness. That evening, Sarah posted about her new business in a local parents' Facebook group. Are you tired of constantly shopping for children's clothes they outgrow in weeks? Try Grow With Me, monthly subscription boxes of quality children's clothes delivered to your door in exactly the right size. Use code LAUNCH for 20% off your first box. Sarah was nervous as she hit post. Would anyone be interested? Would they trust a new company they'd never heard of? The next morning, Sarah checked her phone and gasped. 12 order notifications had come in overnight. 12 families were willing to try her service. We have customers, she told the triplets, dancing around the kitchen with them. Real customers. That weekend, Sarah, Adam, Emma, and Oliver formed an assembly line on their kitchen table. Sarah sorted the clothes. Adam handed her the items, usually the wrong ones, but he tried. Emma placed stickers on boxes, and Oliver watched and clapped. Box for Tommy, age 3, Sarah said, packing items into a shipping box. And this one is for Maya, age 5. By Sunday night, all 12 boxes were packed and ready to ship. On Monday morning, Sarah took the triplets to the post office, each of them carrying a small package. Are these your helpers? The postal worker asked, smiling at the triplets. Yes, they're my business partners, Sarah replied proudly. Over the next few weeks, orders trickled in steadily. Customers began leaving positive reviews on the website and referring friends. By the end of the first month, Sarah had 32 subscribers. I need to order more inventory, she told Beth. I'm reinvesting every dollar back into the business. By the end of the second month, Sarah had 78 subscribers. By the third month, 150 families were receiving Grow With Me boxes. Sarah's apartment had transformed. The living room was now a warehouse with labeled bins of clothing. The kitchen table was a packing station. Even the hallway had boxes stacked along one wall. I can't keep doing this from my apartment, Sarah said to herself one night as she packed boxes until 2 in the morning. I need help. The next day, Sarah received an email from Denver Business Weekly. Ms. Johnson, we're interested in featuring your company in our local startups section. Are you available for an interview this week? Sarah couldn't believe it. Someone wants to write about Grow With Me, she told the triplets, who were now 4 years old. The reporter, Jessica Williams, visited Sarah's apartment to see the operation firsthand. So, you run this entire business from your home while raising triplets? Jessica asked, taking notes. Yes, Sarah said. I started it because I saw a need. Parents are busy, kids grow fast, and shopping takes time many parents don't have. 2 weeks later, the article appeared. Single mom of triplets creates solution for busy parents. The piece told Sarah's story, from her small start to her growing subscriber base. The day after the article was published, Sarah received an email that changed everything. Dear Ms. Johnson, my name is Diane Rodriguez. I'm an investor with Bright Future Ventures. We focus on supporting women entrepreneurs. I was impressed by your story in Denver Business Weekly and would like to discuss investment opportunities for Grow With Me. Are you available to meet next week? Sarah read the email 3 times to make sure it was real. Then she called Maria, "Someone wants to invest in my company," Sarah said, her voice shaking with excitement. "That's amazing," Maria replied. "But be careful. Make sure you understand any deal before you sign anything." Sarah spent the next week preparing for her meeting with Diane. She updated her business plan, gathered sales data, and created projections for future growth. She also practiced her pitch in the bathroom mirror while the triplets slept. On the day of the meeting, Sarah dressed in her best outfit and brought the triplets with her. She couldn't afford a babysitter, and the meeting was scheduled during her regular childcare hours. "I apologize for bringing my children," Sarah said when she met Diane at a coffee shop. "My childcare wasn't available today." Diane Rodriguez, a woman in her 50s with short black hair and sharp eyes, smiled at the triplets. "No apology needed. They're part of your story." Emma walked right up to Diane and extended her hand. "I'm Emma. My mom works very hard, ma'am." Diane laughed and shook Emma's small hand. "I'm sure she does." During the meeting, Sarah presented her business plan while the triplets colored quietly at a nearby table. Diane asked tough questions about growth projections, customer acquisition costs, and scalability. "I'm impressed," Diane said finally. "You've built something real here with very limited resources. I'd like to offer you $300,000 for a 20% stake in Grow With Me." Sarah had done her research. She knew her company was worth more, even at this early stage. "I appreciate your offer," Sarah said confidently, "but I believe 15% would be more appropriate for that investment amount." Diane raised her eyebrows, clearly surprised by Sarah's counter. After some negotiation, they agreed on $300,000 for 18% of the company. As Sarah signed the investment papers, she felt a chapter of her life closing and a new one beginning. She could now afford a real office space, hire employees, and expand Grow With Me nationwide. With Diane's investment check deposited, Sarah wasted no time. She found a small office space with an attached warehouse in an affordable part of Denver. The space had concrete floors, white walls, and large windows that let in plenty of light. "What do you think?" Sarah asked the triplets, now 5 years old, as they explored the empty space. "It's big," Oliver said, his voice echoing in the empty warehouse. "Is this all ours?" Adam asked, looking around with serious eyes. "Yes," Sarah said. "This is where Grow With Me will grow." Sarah bought desks, chairs, and shelving units. She set up a proper inventory system with labeled bins and a packing station with scales and shipping supplies. She created a small corner with 3 child-sized desks where the triplets could do activities after school. "Now I need to hire people," Sarah told Diane during their weekly check-in call. "Start with the positions that will free up your time the most," Diane advised. Sarah placed job advertisements online. After interviewing several candidates, she hired her first 3 employees: Jason, a fulfillment manager to handle inventory and shipping; Melissa, customer service representative to answer emails and calls; and Patricia, a part-time bookkeeper. "Welcome to Grow With Me," Sarah said on their first day, standing in the newly set-up office. "This company started at my kitchen table. Now we're going to take it nationwide." That same week, the triplets started kindergarten at Denver Elementary School. Sarah took photos of them in their new clothes, standing in front of the school with their colorful backpacks. "I'm nervous," Emma admitted as they approached the school building. Sarah knelt down to their level. "You 3 are smart and kind. You'll make friends and learn new things." "Will you be okay without us?" Adam asked, always concerned about his mother. Sarah smiled. "I'll be working at our new office, and I'll pick you up right after school." With the triplets in school from 8:30 to 3, Sarah had more time to focus on growing Grow With Me. She expanded marketing efforts, improved the website, and added new subscription options. 6 months after Diane's investment, Grow With Me had grown to 5,000 subscribers. By the end of the first year, they had 25,000 families receiving monthly clothing boxes. "We need more staff," Sarah told Jason and Melissa, "and we're running out of space here." Sarah hired more employees, 2 warehouse workers, another customer service representative, and a marketing assistant. The company now had 8 full-time staff members. As Grow With Me grew, so did the triplets. Now, 6 years old, they were reading, writing, and developing their unique personalities even more. One afternoon, Sarah picked up the triplets from school and brought them to the office. Emma immediately went to Sarah's desk and picked up some marketing materials. "Mom, this picture should be purple, not blue," Emma said, pointing to a flyer. "Kids like purple better." Sarah looked at her daughter with surprise. "You might be right. Let's ask our customers." Sarah created a quick online poll asking parents which color their children preferred. Purple won by a large margin. "Emma has good instincts," Sarah told Melissa. "She understands what other kids like." Adam showed interest in the warehouse operations. He would watch Jason organize inventory and ask questions about the numbers on spreadsheets. "Why do you count everything twice?" Adam asked Jason one day. "To make sure we don't make mistakes," Jason explained. "I can help count," Adam offered. "I'm good with numbers." Oliver was drawn to the creative side of the business. He would sit with the marketing team and draw pictures of children wearing Grow With Me clothes. "This is for the winter box," Oliver explained, showing Sarah his drawing of a child building a snowman. Sarah looked at her son's artwork with amazement. "This is really good, Oliver. Maybe we can use this in our winter catalog." By the time the triplets were 7 years old, Grow With Me had 50,000 subscribers and 15 employees. Sarah had moved the company to a larger facility with separate offices and a bigger warehouse. National parenting magazines began featuring Grow With Me in their Best Products sections. The company received an award for Most Innovative Children's Service from a prestigious business publication. With success came challenges. Sarah often worked late, missing school events or bedtime stories. "I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your class play," Sarah told Emma one night, tucking her into bed. "It's okay," Emma said. "I know you're working hard." Sarah felt the guilt that many working parents experience. The next day, she made a decision. She converted an unused office at headquarters into a family room with homework tables, books, games, and comfortable furniture. "This is your space at Grow With Me," Sarah told the triplets, showing them the room. "After school, you can do homework here or help with the business if you want to." The triplets loved coming to the office after school. Employees enjoyed having them around, and the children learned about business by watching and helping. Emma began sitting in on marketing meetings, offering suggestions that often proved valuable. Adam helped with inventory counting and developed a system to track which clothing items were most popular. Oliver designed greeting cards to include in subscription boxes, which customers loved. By the time the triplets turned 8, Grow With Me had 100,000 subscribers and a staff of 30 people. Sarah had become known in business circles as an innovative entrepreneur. Venture capital firms began approaching Sarah with investment offers. "We can provide $10 million for 30% of your company," one investor said during a meeting. "Thank you, but I'm not interested in giving up that much control," Sarah replied. Instead, Sarah worked with Diane to find smaller investors who believed in her vision. They raised $5 million while maintaining majority ownership. With this new funding, Sarah expanded the company's offerings. She added children's furniture and educational toys to the product line. "We're not just about clothes anymore," Sarah told her team during a company meeting. "We're building a brand that grows with families. I think we need a new name that reflects that." After much discussion and brainstorming with the team and input from the triplets, Sarah rebranded the company as Next Gen Family Brands. "Next Gen Family Brands," Sarah said, unveiling the new logo to her employees. "Because we serve the next generation of families." The triplets stood beside their mother, proud of what they had helped build. Emma in a purple dress, Adam in a neatly buttoned shirt, and Oliver in a creative, colorful outfit. They were no longer just Sarah's children. They were becoming her partners. On the company's 5th anniversary, Sarah looked around at what they had built. A thriving business, a supportive team, and most importantly, a family that had overcome incredible odds. "We did it," she whispered to herself, watching her children help serve cake to the employees. "We really did it." 10 years passed quickly. Sarah sat in her spacious office at Next Gen Family Brands headquarters, looking at photos on her desk. One showed 3 5-year-olds with gap-toothed smiles on their first day of kindergarten. Another showed the same children at their high school graduation last month. "Mom, the executive team is ready for you," said Emma, now 18, poking her head through the door. She wore a professional navy blue dress, her confident smile matching her mother's. "Thanks, honey," Sarah replied, standing up and smoothing her skirt. At 46, Sarah Johnson had become one of the most successful businesswomen in America. Sarah entered the large conference room where 30 executives waited. Adam and Oliver sat among them. Adam wore a perfectly pressed suit, his calculator watch peeking from under his sleeve. Oliver, in contrast, wore a stylish button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up, his tablet in hand. "Good morning, everyone," Sarah began. "Today we'll discuss the most important decision in our company's history, taking Next Gen Family Brands public." The room buzzed with excitement. Over the past 10 years, Next Gen had grown from a small clothing subscription service to a complete children's lifestyle brand offering clothing, furniture, toys, and educational products nationwide. "Adam will present our financial projections," Sarah said, nodding to her son. Adam stood up and connected his laptop to the projector. At 18, he had already completed advanced courses in finance and mathematics. His financial models had helped the company grow steadily and avoid common pitfalls. "Based on our current growth rate and market position," Adam explained, pointing to a chart, "we can expect a company valuation between $3 and $4 billion at our initial public offering." The executives gasped. When Adam finished his presentation, Emma took the floor. "Our brand recognition is at 87% among parents with children under 12, Emma said confidently. "We've successfully launched 6 new product lines in the past 3 years, all exceeding sales projections." Emma had inherited her mother's business instincts and had already led several successful product launches despite her young age. When Emma finished, Oliver stood up. With his creative mind and technical skills, he had developed apps and smart technology that set Next Gen apart from competitors. "Our new smart nursery system is ready for market," Oliver said, demonstrating the app on a large screen. "Parents can monitor sleep patterns, adjust room temperature, and play lullabies from their phones. Early testing shows 95% parent satisfaction." After the meeting, Sarah met with her children in her office. "You were all amazing today," she said proudly. "We've come so far from our tiny apartment and that first clothing subscription idea. Remember when we packed boxes on the kitchen table?" Emma laughed. "And now we're talking about billions of dollars," Adam added, still looking at financial projections on his tablet. "Do you think we're ready to go public?" Oliver asked. Sarah nodded. "It's time. We've built something special, and an IPO will give us resources to grow even more." The next month was filled with meetings with investment banks, lawyers, and financial advisors. Sarah worked closely with Diane Rodriguez, who remained a trusted advisor and board member. "The Wall Street Journal wants to do a feature on you," Diane told Sarah during lunch. "They're calling it From Single Mom to Billionaire, the Sarah Johnson Story." Sarah frowned. "I don't want this to be just about me. It's about us, me and the triplets. We built this together." Soon, business magazines and TV shows began requesting interviews. Sarah was careful about which ones she accepted. "Ms. Johnson, your story is remarkable," said a reporter during one interview. "A single mother with triplets building a billion-dollar company. Can you tell us about the children's father?" Sarah gave her standard response. "My children's father isn't part of our success story. Next Gen was built through hard work, determination, and the incredible bond between me and my children." The night before the IPO, Sarah and the triplets had dinner in their Denver home. It wasn't a mansion, but it was beautiful, a spacious house with a view of the mountains. Sarah had insisted on staying in Denver rather than moving to New York or Los Angeles. "Are you nervous about tomorrow?" Sarah asked her children. "A little," Adam admitted. "The market has been volatile lately." "I'm excited," Emma said. "We've worked so hard for this." "I keep thinking about how far we've come," Oliver added softly. Sarah raised her glass. "No matter what happens tomorrow, I want you to know how proud I am of each of you. Not because of the business, but because of who you are." The next morning, Sarah and the triplets flew to New York on a private jet. They arrived at the New York Stock Exchange wearing matching next-gen blue. "The opening bell rings in 5 minutes," said a stock exchange official. "Are you ready, Ms. Johnson?" Sarah took a deep breath and looked at her children. "We're ready." The Johnson family stood on the platform above the trading floor. Hundreds of people looked up at them. Cameras flashed. Sarah gripped the ceremonial hammer with Adam, Emma, and Oliver's hands alongside hers. Next Gen Family Brands is now officially trading on the New York Stock Exchange, announced the official. Together, they rang the bell. Cheers erupted from the trading floor. On the big screen, they watched as Next Gen's stock price appeared and immediately began climbing. By the end of the trading day, Next Gen Family Brands was valued at $3.2 billion. Sarah's ownership stake made her a billionaire. Each of the triplets owned 5% of the company, making them wealthy in their own right at just 18. That evening, in their hotel suite overlooking Central Park, Sarah received a call from her financial advisor. "Congratulations, Sarah," he said. "Your net worth is now $1.2 billion. After the call, Sarah found the triplets on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. "So we're officially rich now," Emma said. "The money doesn't change who we are," Sarah reminded them. "We still have the same values." "I've been thinking about college," Adam said. "I got accepted to MIT for their finance program. I can work remotely for NextGen while I study." "Harvard Business School for me," Emma said. "But I want to keep leading product development." "Stanford's computer science program," Oliver added. "I can build our tech division from there." Sarah smiled at her children, now young adults ready to make their own paths while still contributing to what they had built together. "Whatever you choose, I'll support you," Sarah said. "Next Gen will always be your home." Later that night, as Sarah prepared for bed, Emma knocked on her door. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Emma said, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Of course, honey. Do you think our father knows about us now? About what we've built?" Sarah paused, surprised by the question. In all these years, the triplets rarely asked about Michael. "I don't know," Sarah answered honestly. "We've been in the news a lot lately. It's possible. I'm not sure how I feel about that," Emma admitted. "Part of me wants him to see what he missed out on." Sarah put her arm around her daughter. "What he thinks doesn't matter. What matters is what we know, that we built something amazing together." Emma nodded and hugged her mother goodnight. But Sarah lay awake for hours, wondering for the first time in years if Michael Reynolds had seen their success and recognized the children he had rejected so long ago. 8 years passed since NextGen's successful IPO. The company had grown into a $15 billion empire with headquarters in Denver, offices in 12 cities, and products in stores nationwide. Sarah Johnson, now 54, had been featured on the covers of Time, Forbes, and Business Weekly. The triplets, 26 years old, had finished college and now held executive positions at NextGen. Sarah stood in her New York penthouse apartment, practicing her speech for the Innovation Summit. The annual event brought together the biggest names in technology and business. This year, NextGen was the main sponsor, and Sarah would deliver the keynote address. "Mom, are you ready?" Adam called from the living room. As chief financial officer, he managed NextGen's finances with remarkable skill. "Almost," Sarah replied, adjusting her red blazer in the mirror. Emma walked in looking at her tablet. As Chief Innovation Officer, she had developed some of NextGen's most successful product lines. The event team says everything is set up at the venue, Emma reported. Our smart nursery system display looks amazing. Oliver joined them, his tablet showing final adjustments to the presentation. As Chief Technology Officer, he had created the software that made Next Gen's products unique. I added those animation changes you wanted, Oliver told his mother. The demonstration will be perfect. In a different part of Manhattan, Michael Reynolds sat in his office at Reynolds Enterprises, looking at financial reports. His company had struggled in recent years, losing market share to more innovative competitors. At 58, Michael's dark hair was now streaked with gray, but he remained handsome and imposing. "Sir, the final schedule for the Innovation Summit," his assistant said, placing a folder on his desk. Michael nodded. "Thank you, Barbara." After she left, Michael opened the folder. He needed to make connections at this event. Reynolds Enterprises needed partners to stay relevant. His eyes stopped on a name. Keynote address, Sarah Johnson, CEO of Next Gen Family Brands. Michael frowned. The name sounded familiar, but he couldn't place it. He searched for Sarah Johnson online and froze when her photo appeared on his screen. "It can't be," he whispered, staring at the face of the woman he had sent away with a check for $50,000 26 years ago. That evening, the summit began with a VIP reception at the Plaza Hotel. Sarah entered the ballroom in an elegant red gown, flanked by her children. "Ms. Johnson, it's an honor to meet you," said the summit director, greeting them. "Your display on the exhibition floor is getting a lot of attention." "Thank you," Sarah replied. "We're excited to unveil our new smart nursery system tomorrow." Across the room, Michael stood with a glass of champagne, watching Sarah. She looked stunning and confident, surrounded by admirers. He hadn't seen her since that day in his office when he had offered her money to disappear. "Reynolds, good to see you," said a business associate, interrupting Michael's thoughts. "Tough quarter?" "We're repositioning," Michael replied stiffly, "looking for strategic partnerships." His eyes kept drifting to Sarah. He noticed 3 young adults always near her, 2 men and a woman. Something about them seemed familiar, but Michael couldn't place it. "Who are those people with Sarah Johnson?" he asked his associate. "You don't know? Those are her children. They're executives at NextGen. Brilliant young people. They say the son with the glasses is a financial genius, the daughter runs their product division, and the other son created their technology platform." Michael nodded, still watching them from across the room. He decided not to approach Sarah that night. The next morning, the main hall of the convention center was packed for Sarah's keynote address. Michael sat in the 5th row, curious despite himself. On stage, large screens displayed the Next Gen logo. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer said, "please welcome the CEO of Next Gen Family Brands, Ms. Sarah Johnson." The audience applauded as Sarah walked onto the stage in a professional blue suit. "Thank you," Sarah began. 21 years ago, I was a single mother of triplets with no home, no job, and no support. Today, Next Gen Family Brands is valued at $15 billion. Sarah spoke about innovation, perseverance, and seeing opportunities where others saw problems. The audience was captivated. "But success isn't built alone," Sarah continued. "Next Gen's greatest strength has always been family. I'd like to introduce you to my partners, my inspiration, my children. Please welcome to the stage our Chief Financial Officer, Adam Johnson, our Chief Innovation Officer, Emma Johnson, and our Chief Technology Officer, Oliver Johnson." The 3 young adults walked onto the stage to join their mother. The audience applauded enthusiastically. Michael's champagne glass slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. He stared at the 3 people on stage. Adam had Michael's strong jawline. Emma had his eyes. Oliver moved with the same confidence Michael had at that age. They were unmistakably his children. Nearby audience members glanced at Michael with annoyance as staff rushed to clean up the broken glass. Michael barely noticed. His eyes were fixed on the stage where the children he had never known were demonstrating Next Gen's new products. When the presentation ended, Sarah and the triplets received a standing ovation. They moved to the exhibition floor where Next Gen's booth was surrounded by interested visitors. Michael pushed through the crowd, his heart racing. He had to speak to them, had to know for sure. "Sarah! Sarah Johnson!" he called out, approaching the Next Gen booth. Sarah turned, her smile fading as she recognized him. 26 years had passed, but she would never forget that face. "Michael Reynolds," she said coolly. "It's been a while." The triplets noticed the sudden tension. Emma stepped closer to her mother protectively. "Mom, who is this?" Emma asked, looking at Michael with curiosity. Michael's eyes moved between the three young adults, seeing his own features reflected back at him. "These kids, they're mine, aren't they?" he stammered. The nearby crowd fell quiet. People sensed something dramatic unfolding and moved closer to listen. Sarah took a deep breath before speaking clearly. "This is Michael Reynolds, your biological father, the man who offered me $50,000 to disappear with you unborn." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Adam's face hardened, his analytical mind processing this new information. Oliver looked confused, glancing between his mother and this stranger. Emma's eyes narrowed, her protective instinct flaring. "I didn't know. I never thought." Michael stuttered, still staring at the triplets. "You never asked," Sarah replied simply. "You never tried to find us." Michael stepped closer, reaching toward them. "Please, can we talk somewhere private? I want to explain." "There's nothing to explain," Adam said coldly, speaking to his biological father for the first time. "You're the reason Mom struggled," Oliver added, his usual gentle nature hardened. Emma stood tall, looking exactly like Sarah had when standing up to challenges. "We don't need your explanations. We've done just fine without you." "Please," Michael said again, his voice desperate. "You have to understand. I was young. I wasn't ready." "Oh, and before I forget," Sarah interrupted, her voice suddenly businesslike. "Next Gen just acquired the controlling interest in Reynolds Enterprises this morning. Your board approved the sale an hour ago." Michael's face drained of color. "What? That's impossible." "Adam has been quietly buying shares for months," Sarah explained. "We now own 51% of your company." She smiled slightly. "You now work for us." The crowd around them began to whisper excitedly. Several people held up phones, recording the confrontation. Michael looked as if he might collapse. In less than 5 minutes, he had discovered he had 3 children he never knew, and that they now owned his family's company. "Security," Emma called to the nearby guards. "Please escort Mr. Reynolds away from our booth. He's causing a disruption." As security approached, Michael looked once more at the family he had rejected so long ago, now successful, united, and completely beyond his reach. "This isn't over," he said weakly, as the guards led him away. Sarah watched him go, feeling strangely calm. "Actually," she said quietly, "it is." Videos of the confrontation between Sarah Johnson and Michael Reynolds spread across the internet within minutes. Inside the Next Gen booth, Sarah and the triplets gathered in a small private area, trying to process what had just happened. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked her children, concern in her eyes. Adam paced back and forth, his mind racing. "So that's him. That's actually him." "He looks like us," Oliver said quietly. "Or we look like him." Emma grabbed her phone. "It's already on Twitter. Someone posted a video with the caption, 'Billionaire mom confronts man who abandoned her pregnant with triplets.'" Sarah sighed. "I'm sorry it happened this way. I always thought if you ever met him it would be private, on your terms." "Did you know he would be here?" Adam asked. "No," Sarah answered. "I had no idea. I haven't seen or spoken to him in 26 years. A staff member knocked on the door. "Ms. Johnson, there are reporters asking for comments." "Tell them we'll release a statement later," Emma said firmly, protecting her mother as she always did. Outside the convention center, Michael sat in his car, hands shaking as he called his public relations team. "I need immediate damage control. He barked into the phone. "Videos are spreading online. Find out everything you can about NextGen's acquisition of our company. That can't be legal." Michael's assistant's voice was tense. "Sir, I just received confirmation from the board. They did vote this morning to accept NextGen's offer. They said they've been trying to reach you." "This is a nightmare," Michael muttered, ending the call. Back at their hotel suite that evening, the Johnson family watched news coverage of the confrontation. Reynolds Enterprises heir Michael Reynolds came face-to-face with the children he abandoned before birth, a news anchor reported. Sources confirmed that NextGen Family Brands has acquired controlling interest in Reynolds Enterprises, marking one of the most dramatic corporate takeovers in recent business history. "Turn it off," Sarah said. "We need to talk." The triplets sat around the living room of their suite. For the first time in their adult lives, they looked like uncertain children again. "Why didn't you ever tell us his name?" Adam asked. "We could have looked him up." "I didn't want your image of yourselves to be shaped by his rejection," Sarah explained. "You needed to become your own people first." "Did you plan this takeover as revenge?" Oliver asked. Sarah shook her head. "The acquisition makes business sense. Reynolds Enterprises has patents and distribution channels that complement NextGen." Adam noticed the opportunity. Adam nodded. "Their stock was undervalued. I didn't know he still ran the company until 2 months ago. By then, we had already acquired 15%. "How do you feel about seeing him?" Sarah asked gently. Emma's eyes flashed with anger. "He tried to pay you off like we were some problem to solve. I hate him." "I don't know what to feel," Oliver admitted. "He's a stranger who happens to share our DNA." "I feel nothing," Adam said, though his tense posture suggested otherwise. "He's just another failed CEO who didn't adapt to market changes." The next morning, Michael appeared on a business news program. He looked tired but composed in his expensive suit. "I was young and focused on my career," Michael explained to the interviewer. "I made a terrible mistake that I've regretted for years. I'm overjoyed to discover my children and look forward to developing a relationship with them." "You offered their mother money to disappear," the interviewer pointed out. "I panicked," Michael said, looking remorseful. "I was 28 and not ready for that responsibility. I've grown since then. Have you had any contact with your children since yesterday's confrontation?" "Not yet," Michael admitted, "but I hope they'll give me a chance to know them." The Johnson family watched the interview together. "He's lying," Emma said angrily. "He never looked for us. He never regretted anything until we became successful." Sarah's phone rang. It was Diane Rodriguez, still a board member and trusted advisor. "The board is meeting in 30 minutes, Diane said. "We need to discuss what happens with Reynolds Enterprises." At NextGen's temporary New York office, the board gathered around a conference table. Adam presented his plan. "Reynolds Enterprises has valuable assets but outdated management," he explained. "I recommend we rebrand it as NextGen Technologies and integrate it into our company structure." "What about Michael Reynolds?" asked a board member. "His contract gives the majority shareholder the right to remove him as CEO," Adam said. "We can offer him a non-executive position or a severance package." The board voted unanimously to approve Adam's plan. Meanwhile, at the Innovation Summit, Sarah and the triplets continued their scheduled appearances, though everyone was talking about yesterday's confrontation. "Ms. Johnson, how long have you been planning to take over Reynolds Enterprises?" a reporter called out during a product demonstration. "NextGen is always looking for strategic acquisitions," Sarah replied professionally. "We evaluate opportunities based on business merit." That evening, Sarah received a call from security at her office building. "Ms. Johnson, Michael Reynolds is in the lobby. He's demanding to see you. He says it's a family matter." Sarah consulted with her children before responding. "Send him to conference room 3, she decided. "We'll meet him there." Michael sat alone in the conference room for 20 minutes before Sarah entered. She came alone, having asked the triplets to wait nearby. "Thank you for seeing me," Michael said, standing up. "I wanted to talk privately." "Say what you came to say," Sarah replied, remaining standing. "I made a terrible mistake," Michael began. "I was young and scared. If I had known about triplets—" "You knew about twins," Sarah interrupted, "and you still wrote a check to make us disappear." "I was wrong," Michael admitted, "but I've changed. I want to know my children. Please, give me that chance." "That's not my decision to make," Sarah said. "They're adults. They can choose whether to have a relationship with you." "I can see they're remarkable people," Michael said. "You did an amazing job raising them." "Yes, I did," Sarah agreed. "Without your help." "Sarah, please," Michael pleaded. "We could start over, for the kids." Sarah looked at him with pity. "Michael, there is no we. There never was. And they're not kids anymore. They're successful adults who grew up without needing you." "But I'm their father," Michael insisted. "Biology doesn't make you a father," Sarah said firmly. "Being there does." She turned to leave, then paused. "The board has voted to restructure Reynolds Enterprises. You'll receive a severance package. Your legal team will get the details tomorrow." "You're firing me from my own company?" Michael asked, his voice rising. "No," Sarah corrected him. "We're firing you from our company, the one you failed to lead properly." Sarah left Michael sitting alone in the conference room. Outside, the triplets waited. "What did he want?" Emma asked. "A second chance," Sarah said. "Do you think he deserves one?" Oliver asked. Sarah shook her head. "That's not for me to decide. You three need to make your own choices about him." The next day, each triplet sent Michael a brief, formal email. Adams explained the transition process for Reynolds Enterprises. Emma's declined any personal relationship. Oliver's was the kindest, offering to meet once to answer questions about our medical history. Michael read each email in his empty office, surrounded by boxes. 26 years ago, he had made a choice that seemed simple at the time. Now he understood the true cost of what he had thrown away. In the days that followed, the confrontation between the Johnson family and Michael Reynolds became the biggest business story in America. Video clips from the Innovation Summit played on news channels day and night. Social media exploded with hashtags like #NextGenRevenge and #SingleMomBillionaire. Michael stared at his television in his Manhattan apartment, watching himself being escorted away from the Next Gen booth for the 100th time. Every news channel seemed to be playing the clip on repeat. "The remarkable story of Sarah Johnson continues to captivate the nation," said a news anchor. "The single mother who built a $15 billion company after being abandoned pregnant with triplets has now acquired the company of the man who rejected her." Michael's phone rang constantly with calls from reporters. His publicist had arranged an interview with a sympathetic journalist, but it backfired badly. "You claim you've regretted your actions for years," the journalist had said, "yet there's no record of you ever trying to find Ms. Johnson or your children. Can you explain that?" Michael had no good answer, and the interview only made things worse. At NextGen headquarters in Denver, Sarah met with her executive team to discuss the Reynolds Enterprises acquisition. "We'll rebrand it as NextGen Technologies," Sarah explained. "Adam will oversee the transition." "The market is responding positively to the acquisition," Adam reported. "Our stock is up 12%. Reynolds Enterprises partners are nervous, but we're reaching out to reassure them." "What about the Reynolds name?" asked a board member. "It will be phased out completely," Emma said firmly. "The NextGen brand represents our values better." Meanwhile, in New York, Michael met with his lawyers. "Can we challenge the acquisition?" Michael asked desperately. The lead attorney shook his head. "The board's vote was legal. NextGen acquired the shares fairly on the open market. There's nothing to challenge." "What about my position? My family built that company." "Your contract clearly states that the majority shareholder can remove the CEO," the attorney explained. I'm sorry, but legally, they can let you go. As the weeks passed, the story remained in the headlines. Business schools began using the next-gen acquisition of Reynolds Enterprises as a case study. Social media users dug up old photos of Michael and compared them to pictures of the triplets, highlighting their resemblance. The eyes don't lie. Reynolds genes read one viral post showing side-by-side photos of Michael and Emma. 1 month after the Innovation Summit, Sarah was working late in her Denver office when her assistant called. "Ms. Johnson, Michael Reynolds is here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment." Sarah sighed. "Call security to stand by, but send him in." Michael entered Sarah's office looking different than he had at the summit. His expensive suit was slightly wrinkled, and he had dark circles under his eyes. "Sarah, please," he began without greeting her. "I've lost everything. My company, my reputation. I was young and stupid back then. I've changed." Sarah regarded him calmly from behind her desk. "What do you want, Michael?" "A chance," he said, sitting down uninvited. "A chance to know my children, maybe even a chance for us to try again, for the kids?" Sarah almost laughed. "Try again?" "There was never an us to try again, Michael. We dated for 2 years, and when I needed you most, you wrote me a check and had security escort me out." "I was wrong," Michael admitted. "I see that now. But they're still my children." "Biology doesn't make you a father," Sarah said, repeating what she had told him before. "Being there does. Changing diapers, helping with homework, attending school plays, holding them when they're sick. That makes you a parent." "But they're adults now," Michael argued. "We could start fresh." "That's their decision, not mine," Sarah said. "But I should tell you that Oliver is the only one who agreed to meet you and only to discuss medical history." Michael leaned forward. "I can change their minds if you would just help me." "No," Sarah interrupted. "I won't help you. The time when I needed your help has long passed, Michael. The children and I built our lives without you. We don't need you now." Sarah pressed a button on her desk. "Security will show you out. Please don't come to my office unannounced again." As security escorted him away, Sarah didn't feel the anger or hatred she had expected. Instead, she felt free. The man who once seemed so powerful now seemed small and insignificant. That weekend, Sarah invited the triplets to dinner at her home. They sat on her patio overlooking the mountains as the sun set, enjoying a meal together. "I heard Reynolds showed up at your office," Adam said, serving himself salad. Sarah nodded. "He did." "What did he want?" Emma asked. "The same thing he asked for at the summit. A second chance." Oliver looked thoughtful. "I'm still planning to meet him next week. Just once, for medical information." "That's your choice," Sarah said. "I'll support whatever each of you decides." "I have no interest in knowing him," Emma said firmly. "Neither do I," Adam added. "The company transition is almost complete anyway. There's no business reason to interact with him." Sarah looked at her children with pride. "Do you ever regret not having him in your lives?" Adam shook his head. "We never missed what we didn't know we had." "You were enough, Mom," Emma said, reaching for Sarah's hand. "Always." Oliver raised his glass to Mom, who did the impossible. They toasted as the last rays of sunlight painted the sky orange and purple. Later, after the triplets had gone home, Sarah sat alone on her patio. She thought about the young, frightened woman she had been, sitting on Lily's couch with nowhere to go. She thought about the tiny apartment in Denver, the 3 babies, the struggling years, and the gradual climb to success. Sarah realized that the revenge she had once dreamed of didn't matter anymore. In those early days, she had promised her unborn babies that they would build something so big that Michael would regret what he did. They had achieved that and more. But success wasn't about proving Michael wrong. It was about the family they'd built, the love they shared, and the future they would continue to create together. Sarah took out her phone and found a photo from the triplets' 5th birthday. They stood around a homemade cake in their small apartment, their faces lit with joy. She remembered how hard things had been then, how she had worked 3 jobs and slept only 4 hours each night. Next, she found a recent photo of the 4 of them at the New York Stock Exchange when Next Gen went public. The same smiles, the same love, but now they stood as successful adults beside their mother. "We did it," Sarah whispered to herself. The next morning, Sarah walked into Next Gen headquarters with a new lightness in her step. There was work to be done, a company to run, and a future to build, this time without the shadow of the past hanging over her. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.